In this video, we're going to show you to install the brake master cylinder on your Ford Focus located under your hood. With the hood open, locate your battery on the passenger side portion of the engine compartment. Use a 10mm shallow socket or wrench on the nut here. Now we did go ahead and spray this down with some rust penetrant to go ahead and hopefully loosen up that corrosion that was on there a little bit, and then wiggle this free. I want to go ahead and work this up and off of the terminal. Pull that up and off. Use some spray solvent on that terminal, and if you happen to have a brass bristle brush, go ahead and clean up around that terminal. Again, just to clean it up. Inspect that connector, make sure everything is clean. And peel back the rubber boot. Locate the nut here, it's a 10mm. You can use a wrench or your ratchet, 10mm. Good, disconnect that. Make sure that terminal is clean. And the clamp itself. Across the top center here, we have the cross brace. We're going to go ahead and remove this little protective rubber cap here. Use a 10mm deep socket. Loosen and remove that nut. On the back side here, I want to go ahead and work this up and off. 10mm socket. Remove that nut. I'm going to set those aside. Now right here is an 8mm bolt. Loosen and remove this. Remove that bracket. We'll set that aside. Now some batteries will have a handle or a strap on there. Ours does not. Just give it a little wiggle. It is loose. Now we'll go ahead and reach in there. We do recommend wearing gloves. Pull out the battery, remove it. With the battery removed, we now want to go ahead and remove our battery tray. There should be 3 12mm nuts. It's one here, and one here. Now we did previously go ahead and use our compressed air to clean this out. You can use a vacuum or whatever you need to, but you want to go ahead and make sure you have access to these 3. We're going to go ahead and spray these in some rust penetrant because ours are pretty nasty. And I'm going to let these soak for a little bit. Use our 12mm socket with an extension and our ratchet. Let's see if we can loosen these. Now sometimes if you loosen it and then tighten it again, it kind of gets that lubricant on those threads and makes it easier. All right, now that we have those three off, I want to go ahead and separate this harness here from the battery tray. We're going to use our trim tool for this here. Just need to get in and pop that plastic retainer out. Go ahead and carefully work this up and out. There's one more button on this back corner here. Between our reservoir and our fuse block here, you find a 7mm bolt. You can use our socket extension and 1/4" ratchet to get in there. And we don't have to remove this. That is slotted there. So you just want to go ahead and loosen it so you can lift up on that block. Right here on the right side of our fuse block, there's going to be a little tab inside here. You can use a pry tool. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver, and you just want to get in here and pull that back a little bit to release that lock. And we need to work our fuse block up and out. Continue to wiggle that up and off. Now that we have this fuse box loose, we need to hold it back so we can access the master cylinder in the back here. I'm going to simply use a securing strap, hook it onto the battery tray base, and pull this out of the way. With this held back, we're now going to go ahead and use some spray solvent, and we need to clean the whole area where the master cylinder attaches to the booster and get rid of any debris and dirt that's in there. And the reason for this here is that when we disconnect the master cylinder, we don't want any dirt to fall down inside the booster. So it is imperative that this is clean and don't have any dirt on there to fall down inside. Now, before we disconnect any of our components here, we went ahead and we sprayed the nuts on both sides of our master here with some rust penetrant. Next step, go ahead and grab some rags or some drip pads, and it's highly recommended that you go ahead and tuck these down underneath. So when we disconnect our lines, it captures at least a large portion of our brake fluid. Might not be a bad idea to go ahead and put some drip pads or something underneath the vehicle in this vicinity to capture any of that fluid. Next thing we want to do is we're going to just go ahead and loosen the two nuts, one on this side here and then one over here. Let's loosen those. All right, we do have them loose. Ours is a little rusty. We're going to use our bristle brush here to go ahead and try and clean up the studs a little bit. Yours may not be as rusted as ours. I'm going to give that a quick spray with some spray solvent. Once again, want to keep this as clean as possible. I'm loosening and tightening the nuts on here to clean off the threads as we remove these here. Now, before we loosen these too far, we just want to make sure we can get those working out. We want to go ahead and break these lines free, the hard lines on the side. We would need to have this somewhat stable to go ahead and break those free. Let's go ahead and do that next. We're going to use our 13mm open wrench. If you have a flare wrench, you can use that as well. All right, back one is broken free. Let's get that front one. Okay, front one is broken free. So open up our reservoir. Pop this out, and you want to have a rag ready to go. And what we're going to do is we're going to use an evacuation tool here to go ahead and pull out any of that brake fluid that's in here, or as much as we can. All right, we'll pull out pretty much everything that we could. We're going to throw this back in. Close it up for now. Now on the top here, let's disconnect the fluid line from our reservoir. On this side here, there's a gray or a white. I mean, ours is gray right now. It could be just aged. But you want to push in on it and then pull this hose off. So push in and pop this line off. Now fluid will probably come out. There's some residual fluid in there. And that's why we have that mat. Let's go ahead and disconnect the hard lines here. Now there's not a lot of room in there to move, so you're just gonna have some patience in here. All right, upper line is disconnected. Let's go ahead and get that back one. All right, both of our lines are completely unthreaded. All right, we got the right side nut removed. Let's go ahead and get the other side. I did switch over to a 1/4 inch ratchet for the length purposes of the wrench itself. The 3/8 wrench was a little too long to get a good enough throw on this here. Okay, go ahead and capture that nut there. We'll remove that, set that aside. Wiping away from the hole, cleaning this up, inspecting it. There's not much more than just some residual paint missing here. There's no rust we need to be concerned about. And we have our new unit right here. Now this has to be bled in the vehicle. This is a unique design, so you can't really bench bleed it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our bleeder ports into this now. Now installing this here, you want to make sure that this shaft here, this open port, goes on the shaft on the inside of the booster itself. And this here has an O-ring around the perimeter itself too. You want to make sure that that is installed and ready to go. Let's go ahead and feed this down inside. Get and lower this down in a position. Now this part here is a little bit challenging as we need to manipulate our bleeder ports around the original brake lines there. Now once we have that unit in place, we're going to go ahead and get the nuts started on there. We're holding it in, and we can see that the master itself is completely flush with the booster, which is exactly what we need. That tells me that the seal itself is flush up against the booster. While holding this in place, I need to get my ratchet on this and at least gently snug down one of these here. Okay, that side is bottomed out. Let's go ahead and get this one on there. Okay, just gonna snug them. These do have to get torqued, so do not over tighten these, as you can deform the vacuum booster shell and you can cause a vacuum leak, and then this will all be done for nothing. At this point here, we're gonna take our bleeder lines and we need to position these so we can get them into a reservoir or some brake fluid. We also need to go ahead and tighten these. Now with our bleeder lines in place, we're going to bring over our remote reservoir connector, line that up, and push this on. You're going to feel that seat when it pops on, just kind of clips into place. I'm going to top off the reservoir right now. I'm going to open up the reservoir. And we're going to top this off with the appropriate brake fluid. And we'll go ahead and seal this up. All right, now that we have fluid in our reservoir and we have our bleeder ports coming up here, our bleeder hose, we have someone inside the vehicle. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna go ahead and pump the brake. They're gonna push it all over to the floor and then release it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bleed any air that is in the master or the reservoir that we just installed. And we're gonna go ahead and burp out any air. Here we have brake fluid in here, so it's not gonna let any air back into the system. It's just gonna push that air out, burp it, and then be able to suck that fluid in. So let's go ahead and pump up that brake for us, please. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when doing so. We still see some air bubbles coming out of this here, so we're going to continue this here until there's no more air bubbles coming up to that surface. Now at this point here, we have no more air bubbles coming out of the system, so we want to carefully remove our brake fluid with our container here. I'm going to go ahead and bring those ports up and out. Move those out of the way. Get rid of this. Now at this point, I want to go ahead and I'm going to disconnect that back line. And we need to go ahead and get the vehicle lines on there. Okay, pull that line out. We want to get our back line installed on there. I'm also going to go ahead and get this line out of the way. It's going to help with clearance. Now yes, we are going to lose fluid from here, so you kind of have to work kind of quick doing this here. Do the best you can with it. Once you have both of those lines started, go ahead and snug them down. Make sure those are good and tight. Go ahead and remove the drip mats that captured all of that brake fluid. Let's go ahead and torque these nuts down to 13 foot-pounds. Now that we're torqued, I want to take some spray solvent and spray this down, cleaning up any of the brake fluid that might have leaked out. Now at this point here, I'm going to go ahead and top off the fluid in the master reservoir. I'm going to remove our securing strap here. Let's move this back. I'm going to hook the left side onto that screw and then bring the other side up and push it down onto the tab here. Let's go ahead and secure that screw over there. Go ahead and snug that down gently. Go ahead and open up the unit. Use the appropriate brake fluid to go ahead and top this off. Go ahead and close it up. Go ahead and wipe off any of that residual here. I'm going to install our battery tray here. Remember, we have the two nuts here and then one over here. And we have two harnesses to install. The larger harness here that goes to our fuse block here. There's a smaller harness down on the side that we had popped out of the corner. At this point here, we can go ahead and install our battery. Go ahead and grab that battery. lower it down into the tray. Go ahead and grab the support bracket. Make sure that your cables are out of the way there. Install this bolt here. Grab the securing nuts here. Snug this down. Snug down the two nuts. Now when doing this here, it doesn't have to be super, super tight. What this is doing is simply holding the battery in place. You don't want to over tighten this and crush the battery. And slide that on. If you happen to have the protective rubber cap for the stud right here, you can pop that in place. Install the positive side here. Run that nut down as far as you can. And then grab your ratchet. You want to go ahead and snug this down. Now once it bottoms out, you want to give it a couple more turns. You want to make it snug enough where you can grab this here and it won't spin. It's pretty tight. If you have the protective rubber boot, go ahead and slide that up and over. Grab the ground terminal, connect that. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Give it a whirl and make sure it's nice and tight. And you're all set. I'm going to start by spraying down the master cylinder. Want to make sure that this is clean before we open up the reservoir. We don't want any debris to fall down inside. I'm going to open up the reservoir. Set that off to the side. Then we're going to use an evacuation tool. You can use something like a turkey baster if you have something like that. And we want to pull out as much of that brake fluid as possible. Sometimes you can get quite a bit out, and other times you can get a minimal amount. But either way, you want to go ahead and pull that fluid out as much as you can. Have a container set aside. You can go ahead and put that fluid. I'm going to continue this process until we have out as much as possible. Now at this point we have out as much as we can get. We are going to remove our container here and get that out of the way so we don't spill it anywhere. Now I want to go ahead and fill up our reservoir with appropriate brake fluid recommended. And on this here, the container tells us it's DOT3. So you want to go ahead and check it. It could be on here or it could be on the lid itself. So we're going to top up our reservoir, fill it up with some fresh fluid, and we get to that full mark and add a little bit more to get there. Right, now that we're at the max line, I'm going to go ahead and install our lid here. Now here we are ready to perform our brake bleeding process. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the right rear wheel, which is a passenger side rear wheel. Then we're going to proceed over to the left rear, which is the driver's side rear. Then we're going to proceed over to the right front and end at the left front. Now we have some assistance. We have someone inside the vehicle that's going to be pumping up our brake pedal for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up this brake bleeder screw. We're going to start by pulling off this little rubber cap here. If you don't have this rubber cap, it's not critical to the operation of the brakes. However, if you have it, you definitely need to remove it to do this process. Now what we're going to do is going to have that person inside the vehicle pump up the brakes about 4 to 5 times and hold pressure.
Holding.
While they're holding pressure, we're going to go ahead and pop this little container here on here to hold or maintain fluid. It's going to capture this fluid. And we're going to go ahead and open this up. Now inside the vehicle, the brake pedal is going to go to the floor, and then we'll go ahead and close this. And we're going to do this multiple times. What we're looking to do is capture or release any air that is in the system, and we want a solid, steady stream of brake fluid to come through our line. All right, go ahead and pump it up.
Holding. Floor.
Okay. And we're going to continue this process until we have that solid stream of fluid. Continue, please.
Holding. Floor.
Go ahead, pump it up.
Holding.
All right, at this point here, we are getting a good solid stream of fluid. We're going to do this one more time, and then we're going to proceed over and do the same process on the driver's side rear wheel. Go ahead.
Holding.
All right, we'll snug this down. I want to go ahead and relieve our drainage hose here. Now, if you have some spray solvent, you want to go ahead and give us a quick little spray. Clean up the brake fluid, as brake fluid is corrosive, so you want to make sure you clean that up the best you can. And if you have that rubber cap, go ahead and pop that onto that bleeder screw. Now that we've bled the 2 rear wheels, let's go ahead up to the master cylinder and top that off. And then we're going to continue with the right front wheel and then end with the left front. And then we're going to come back and top off the reservoir again. Let's go ahead and open up our reservoir. And let's go ahead and fill this up. Once you're filled up, go ahead and install this. Now here we are over at the right front. This is a 3rd wheel that we're doing. We want to go ahead and use our 10mm wrench right here. I'm going to place our port for our container on there. I'm going to go have the person inside pump up the brakes and hold it.
Holding.
Let's go ahead and crack this open. Okay, pump it up.
Holding.
Pump it up.
Holding.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Remove our hose. Spray it down with some spray solvent. Clean that up. Now, if you have the rubber cap, go ahead and install that now. I'm going to go ahead and proceed and end with the left front wheel. Let's go ahead and open up our reservoir. Go ahead and fill this up. Once it's filled up, go ahead and install this. Now that we're done here, let's go ahead and install our wheels, and we're going to torque down our lug nuts to 94 foot-pounds. Once you're done there, go ahead and take the vehicle for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.